Hey everybody, this is Mr. Drizzle, and in this tutorial we're going to continue our series on refined power, and this tutorial is going to be about biomass power. So this is going to be tutorial number 2. We're going to use biomass heaters which have a maximum heat of 500 degrees Celsius. Let me go ahead and show you all the different things that it's going to use. For biomass, we can use the following. We can use wood, leaves, spitter remains, mycelia, packaged liquid biofuel, fabric, regular biomass, solid biomass, and hog remains. Now, this is empty because it just looked weird if I didn't have an extra chest there. But that's it. You just have those 9 items. And then you're gonna need water. As with every single refined power mod uh, item, we use water, and that's gonna be our steam. So here's, oh, that was weird. For our heater, we're gonna use the biomass heater, which heats up to 500 degrees Celsius. We're going to use an MK, a Mark 1 boiler up to 500 degrees Celsius. We're going to use a Mark 1 turbine, which spins up to 10,000 RPMs. And we're going to use a low voltage generator, which spins about 10,000 RPMs and gives us 150 megawatts of power. Now, if you have it unlocked, you could get away with a medium voltage generator, and that'll boost you. I think it's like 32 megawatts of extra power. But in this tutorial, we're just going to use low voltage. In order to generate power, you first need to put down a boiler plate, which is a boiler platform right here. So you're going to take a boiler, you're going to put down a heater of some kind, you're going to put down some kind of a boiler on top. So you got the boiler platform, you got the heater, and you got the boiler, okay? You want to convert the steam into mechanical energy. And the way we do that is we go down here and we grab a converter platform. It converts that steam into rotational energy. Okay? And that rotational energy comes from the form of steam that goes from the boiler to the turbine, which converts it into rotational energy, and then it rotates a generator. Okay? Now, water comes in through here, and then whatever fuel you want comes into here. So that's a quick review of how this works. Now, in order for this thing to work properly, you have to get rid of the steam and you have to get rid of the CO2, which is where the cooling platforms come in. You need 2 cooling platforms, one for steam and one for CO2. Okay? So the heater takes the fuel, heats it up, and converts it into CO2, right? And you gotta get rid of that CO2, right? You dump that CO2 into a chimney. And then you take the steam that comes out of the turbine right here, and you gotta get rid of it. So the turbine takes high pressure steam and then converts it into low pressure steam, and then it gets dumped into the cooling tower. And then when all that's done, you are generating power from just this tiny little platform right here. And that is the quick and dirty of how this works. Okay? So let's go ahead and start with the thing that's going to take the longest. Now we're going to create a biomass heater. Okay, let's go find it right now. And biomass takes a really long time to burn, which is nice because it allows you to, there it is, biomass heater. It allows you to extend the use of each thing that you're trying to burn. But the problem is it also takes a little longer, or it takes a lot longer for it to heat up. So let's let's do leaves, because that seems like that would take a pretty long time to burn. So the leaves are going in. It's filling up. Oh yeah, duh. Forgot we gotta put the water thing on top in order for it to start the burn. There we go. Oh, okay. So I learned something here as well. So I guess depending on what you use depends on how fast or slow it will burn. So the leaves are pretty fast. The wood's probably going to be a slower burn. Like, for example, if I were to go with liquid biofuel, okay, throw that out of there. And if you look at this, look at that. See, much longer burn, but I think it takes longer to also heat up too. Is that right? Let's find out. We're gonna discover this together. Gotta pull that out of the way. Let's look at this. Okay, yeah. So this is faster, I think. Um, but depending on what you use depends on how fast it will burn, and how quickly this will heat up. So, and then as with all burners, we got to get rid of that CO2. So let's go ahead and put let's use solid biofuel. Okay, we're going to use solid biofuel. We're going to go ahead and put that in there. It's a pretty long burn time. It is filling up with biofuel through this heater, and it is collecting all that. Now, you'll notice that this is not increasing in temperature, and that's because we need to dump that CO2. So within a heater, the fuel comes in, it burns, converts it to CO2. We got to get rid of the CO2. So, if you remember from the first video, we need to get a chimney. There's our chimney right there. And then we're just going to go ahead and make it look all fancy. No, let's try that way. There we go. All right, we are dumping the CO2. As the CO2 is being dumped, this thing can start heating up again. And as I mentioned in the first video, we don't need to worry about water right now. All we need to focus on is just the heater, making sure it gets hot, making sure it's going to get up to that temperature of 500 degrees Celsius. And we are far, 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 far away from that. So, fuel's coming in, burning it, is turning it into CO2. Let's make sure this is working properly. All right, now, as I mentioned in the first video, the fact that it's turning online and offline is stopping between the two is a good thing. If it's always on, that means we might have a buildup or a backup of CO2 that we haven't gotten rid of. So we need to make sure that at least if we have uh, a multi-system setup, that at least one CO2 is turning on, turning off, turning on, turning off. So this is a good thing. That's turning on and turning off. It lets us know that this is more than ample to complement this. Okay, so we are increasing in temperature. So we got the boiler on top. So let's go ahead and start filling it with water. It won't start heating up the water until probably around 300 degrees Celsius, or at least 100 degrees Celsius. So this is our water tank. We have a water tank right here full of water. It's made of glass, so it's transparent. It's really nice. So this is water. And I put it in a whole bunch of different languages so everybody can see. Which I would have done with this, except that there'd be a lot of signs and it'd just be way too much work. All right, so we're just going to take this water and we are going to. That looks weird. Dump all that water in there. All right. We are quickly filling it up. All right. So we're filling it up. We're going to take that water. We're going to change it to steam. It's already starting to produce the steam. That's fantastic. All right. We're going to create a Mark 1 turbine here. So Mark 1 turbine. Mark 1 turbine. Where are my turbines? There they are. And put the Mark 1 turbine down. And then we're going to put a low voltage generator. All right. Burner is at full power, 500 degrees Celsius. We are burning solid biofuel because that's what I chose. You can use any one of these. I've tested them all. They all work. So remember, you have hog remains, you have solid biofuel, fabric, liquid biofuel, mycelia, you have spitter remains, you have leaves, and wood. Okay? So we're at full power here, or full heat, maximum heat, and we have a boiler that's full of steam pressure, which is fantastic. All right, so let's go ahead and dump this in here. But before we do, let's make sure we have a way to get rid of the steam. So let's go down here. I have so many mods installed. Let's see, where are we? Cooling tower. All right, so we got to get rid of the steam somehow. So that's what we're going to do right here. This is going to get rid of the steam. And we're going to take this high pressure steam, put it in this generator, in this turbine, and it's going to start generating power. And then Bob is your uncle. Look at that. 37, 45. As it increases the RPMs, we have more and more power. So it's increasing. We're about to reach maximum. We are now at 150 megawatts of power at 10,000 RPMs. And we look at that, we've created 150 megawatts of power. It is officially done. So let's recap. We have water tank, which is completely full because I essentially have unlimited water from the water tank. So we have water tank, it's dumping that water into a boiler. Our boiler is already hot because we have a biomass here that's converting this solid biofuel into heat, okay? Then as it converts it into heat, the byproduct is CO2, and we actually have two choices. We can either package the CO2 for use later, or we can just get rid of it. Packaging the CO2 to use later is power intensive and not practical at this point in your game if you're using biomass heaters. So we're not going to worry about that. So we're just going to get rid of this CO2. It's going to come into this CO2 chimney. On, off, on, off. That's good. We want it to always be on, off. If it's always on, that's something to worry about. And then we're going to take that heat, and we're going to take that high pressure steam and convert it into rotational energy. Look at that. So we've got all the high pressure steam. It's converting it into low pressure steam. That steam is going to go into the cooling tower to get. Or does it have an animation? It does not have an animation. Oh, that makes me sad. And then it goes away. Which we could. I can we bottle steam at some point? Makes me wonder if we can actually. Can we? They do. There is a way to bottle steam. That's not in this video though. That's for another video if I decide to do that. But we're generating power right there, 150 megawatts. And as long as you supply it with water and fuel, you can have a steady form of power. Now, this may look like a lot of room for just creating something that you could probably just get away with. If you look at this, so essentially, this is kind of like a coal power plant ish. No, we're not doing coal. So this would be a biomass burner. Okay, so you might say to yourself, well, why would I do this when I could just put down a biomass burner, right? This biomass burner only generates 30, there it is, 30 megawatts of power. So in order to, let's see, we would, what's 150 divided by 30? That would be 5. So you would need five of these bad boys right here to equal all this. Now this may seem like holy crap, that's a lot of room just to where I could just take 5 of these. Well, I haven't created a blueprint yet, but I'm wondering if I could create a compacted blueprint like I did with the coal and the solution generators. I'm wondering if I can create a blueprint to compact this. If you guys like the video, be sure to let me know. And, if you like the video, click like. Feel free to do a comment. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to create molten salt power. And I'll probably upload that back to back so that I can focus on nuclear power next. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to click like, comment below, or dislike if you didn't like the video. See you guys on the next one. Bye.